virtual public meeting. Okay, good evening. Thank you for joining Valley Water's virtual public meeting tonight on the Lower Penitencia Creek Improvements Project. I'm Rochelle Blank, and I'm a Valley Water Deputy Operating Officer for Watersheds Design and Construction Division. The objective of the Lower Penitencia Creek Improvement Project is to maintain a 100-year level of flood protection in the creek system. This means a 1% chance of flood occurrence in any given year that occurs would be protected for that year, and to provide flood protection for residences and businesses in Milpitas. Tonight, we will give an informational update on the project through a PowerPoint and discuss upcoming construction activities. You'll also hear from Valley Water's District 3 Board of Directors, Richard Santos, and the project team. At the end of the presentation, you will have the opportunity to ask questions about the project. You will find the agenda, meeting presentation, and project information on the project's webpage, which staff posted in the chat box. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce Jose Villarreal from Valley Water's Office of Communication. Jose will provide information on how to access the tools for the Zoom virtual meeting and facilitate the questions and answer session after the project presentation. Jose?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jose Villarreal, and I'm with the Office of Communications. I'm here to give you, everyone, a short orientation on the Zoom webinar platform. As an attendee to this webinar, you'll be able to listen in with your computer audio. Alternatively, you can also call in using the above number. And the webinar ID associated with this meeting is there as well. This is recommended if your internet feed is unstable or you find yourself fighting for bandwidth at home. As an attendee, you won't see the option to turn on your camera. And later on, there will be a question and answer segment. Questions can be submitted throughout the presentation via the Q&A box, as you see there, highlighted there. And it will be queued at the end of the presentation. We don't recommend entering questions into the chat because they'll get buried, and sometimes it's hard for staff to keep track of them. If you would like to ask a question verbally, please raise your hand. The hand feature, as you can see, is located also at the bottom near the Q&A function. And the icon will be placed next to your name once you raise your hand. We will call your name out and we'll enable you to speak, but please keep in mind that you'll have to unmute yourself in order to ask your question. And if you are calling in by phone, you have to press *9 to raise your hand, or *6 to mute and unmute yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. Now I'd like to provide an overview of tonight's virtual public meeting. Momentarily, we will hear remarks from Director Richard Santos. Following his comments, staff will give a project presentation and discuss upcoming construction activities. We will open the meeting for questions after the presentation. We plan to end the meeting at 7:30 p.m. or sooner, depending on the number of questions. Tonight, we are joined by Director Richard Santos, who represents this community as part of District 3 on the Valley Water Board of Directors. Director Santos is a native of Alviso. He served in Korea while in the Army and retired as a San Jose fire captain after 33 years of service. He was elected to Valley Water's Board of Directors in 2000 to represent District 3, which includes Sunnyvale, Santa Clara, Alviso, Milpitas, North San Jose, and the Berryessa Alum Rock communities. We appreciate his time and ask that you welcome him here tonight. Director Santos, I'd like to give you the virtual floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Rochelle. And hi, everybody. I'm Richard Santos, your director of the Santa Clara Valley Water District. And thank you for taking the time tonight to hear about some benefits we're going to be able to provide for our community to make it a lot safer. So thank you for the interest in the Lower Penitencia Creek Improvement Project. At this time, I want to welcome all our neighbors watching us on Facebook Live. You can submit your questions online and we will answer them at the meeting. I want to acknowledge if there's any elected officials out there or the representatives. If there is, I'll take the time to say hi and thank you. Is there anybody out there? maybe David Cohen's office, who knows? But if you're out there, thank you. And if you have any questions, of course, call our staff. We'll be glad to help out. I'm excited to announce the addition of the Lower Penitencia Creek project. We are also starting construction on the Calero Creek as part of the Lower Berryessa Creek flood project, and also doing repairs to the channel walls of Piedmont Creek. Many residents and businesses will benefit from the Valley Water's efforts to build and maintain these flood projects. Lower Penitencia Creek takes water from Berryessa Creek and carries it to Coyote Creek further downstream. It is critical that we complete these improvements as Penitencia Creek serves as a vital link between these two creeks. People living along the stretch of Lower Penitencia Creek will continue to receive the benefits of the 100-year flood protection once the project is completed. Please ask questions and share your thoughts with us. We have Valley Water staff available to respond during the questions and answers portion of tonight's virtual meeting. Although we're discussing flood protection, it's usually the issue after droughts. And today, our board took action. We're basically saying, hey, we're in an emergency situation. Water conservation is going to 15%, which is basically 33% increase from the 25 that we just had. We're in a real tough situation. We're asking the county and the governor to support those emergency situations. We all ask you folks to conserve. You've been doing a good job. These volunteers, but now it's going to be mandatory. We all need to work together to collaborate and continue that good work in your landscaping and leaks inside or whatever have you. Our staff is available. We have 22 rebate programs. We've got great people that will serve you. So give us a call. Our staff will give you the phone numbers. I'm always available 7/24. Call me anytime you like. With that, I would say this water drought is a very serious, but you also got to prepare for floods. And that usually, unfortunately, follows, it seems like, when we've been in droughts. But that's why we're going to protect it. So we make sure that your folks' insurance can go down and you have no flood damage. We're working hard. So with that, I thank you for listening tonight. Please call in our staff and ask any questions you want. Flood protection, environmental, of course, water supply. We're here to help. So thank you for listening, and back to Rochelle.
You're on mute.
Appreciate that. Sorry about that, trying to limit background noise. Thank you, Director Santos. I'd like to now turn this over to the engineering unit manager responsible for overseeing this construction project. That would be Sunshine Julian, and she'll go ahead and proceed with tonight's presentation. Again, after our presentation, there will be an opportunity to address questions regarding the project and our upcoming construction season here. She'll be accompanied by the project's associate engineer, who's the project manager, Bill Sanchez, and he'll assist her in answering questions as you have them. With that, I'd like to go ahead and turn this over to Sunshine to please begin her presentation. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Rochelle. Give me a moment to share my screen. Okay, just want to make sure everyone can see presentation okay. All right. Good evening. Again, my name is Sunshine Julian, Capital Engineering Manager in the Watersheds Design and Construction Division. And I'm here to present a brief update on the Lower Penitencia Creek Improvements Project. We'll start with a discussion on the background and project map, project elements, what to expect during construction, contact information, and then we'll end with questions. So east of Lower Penitencia Creek, Valley Water completed the Lower Berryessa Creek Phase 1 and Upper Berryessa Creek flood protection projects to provide flood protection from a 100-year event. As Rochelle mentioned earlier, a 100-year storm event is an event that has a 1% chance of occurring in any given year. So the combined enhancements to the Lower and Upper Berryessa Creek will bring more stormwater to Lower Penitencia Creek. The improvements to Lower Penitencia Creek are necessary to provide continued flood protection for residents and businesses currently protected along the 1 mile project area. The northern project limit is at the Coyote Creek confluence here. And the southern project limit is at San Andreas Drive, which is approximately 300 feet upstream of the Berryessa Creek confluence, as you see here on this map. For reference, here is 880, Dixon Landing Road, California Circle, and Millmont Drive. There are 4 reaches to this project, reaches 1 through 4, or sections of creek shown on this map and denoted in various colors, which I'll go through with more specifics in the following slides. So as I mentioned in the last slide, that completion of the lower and upper Berryessa Creek projects will increase the 1% flow in the Berryessa lower Penitencia Creek system. In its current condition, lower Penitencia Creek cannot carry the increased flow from the upper Berryessa and lower Berryessa projects. So again, additional improvements are required along lower Penitencia Creek to increase its capacity to convey the increased 1% flow. So the objectives of this project are to convey the lower Berryessa Creek 1% design flow, to meet required water surface elevations at Coyote Creek and Berryessa Creek confluences, minimize the need for seasonal removal of sediment and non-woody vegetation, maintain existing FEMA or Federal Emergency Management Agency accreditation, and ensure that the improvements that are made meet FEMA certification requirements. There have been presentations provided to the public since 2012 on this project, the Environmental Impact Report Scoping Meeting, Alternatives Meeting, Project Update Meetings, and the latest was the City of Milpitas Council meeting last month. So let me briefly go through the project elements by reach, and these are the color-coded sections I mentioned earlier. So reach 1 is from Coyote Creek to 880. And the cross sections shown here and in the upcoming slides are looking downstream and in the middle of the creek and in the direction of flow of water, just for reference. So the existing levee would be removed here. A new levee constructed here. And a new wetland vegetated bench will be constructed. This is reach 2. Reach 2 is from 880 to California Circle, and this reach includes a new flood wall on the South Bank levee. This is a section of reach 3 from California Circle to approximately Cascadita Terrace area, and includes a new flood wall on both leveed banks. And then continuing reach 3 from approximately Cascadita Terrace to Millmont Drive will also include new flood walls on both leveed banks. And the last section here is from Millmont Drive to San Andreas Drive. And work in this reach includes raising the east levee here, as well as the installation of a new flood wall on the west bank. So what can you expect during construction? You'll see construction equipment such as drill rigs. The contractor will be using a non-vibratory method for installation of the sheet pile flood walls. There's also hauling and stockpiling of materials, the best management practices being used, such as measures to control dust. You'll see traffic control and trail closure, monitoring such as biological vibration and noise monitoring, and site security such as fencing. Okay, this is a rendering just showing how the flood walls would look like when installed. So if you can see this beige flood wall in these pictures here and here. So Valley Water has coordinated with the City of Milpitas to determine the color of the flood wall, and that final color will be a Barcelona brown color. The sheet pile flood walls are color-coded for both aesthetics and protection against corrosion. Again, this is just a rendering just to show how the flood walls would look like. We advertised the project for construction on March 9th this year. The construction contract was awarded at the board meeting on May 25th last month to Gordon and Ball Incorporated. Today is the pre-construction public meeting, and mailers and next door posts were sent out prior to this meeting, and will continue to provide communication and updates either via mailers or next door posts. Project signage will also be installed, and construction will start this summer through the end of next year, 2022, followed by a 3-year plant establishment period. In-channel work or work inside the channel will take place through the summer till October 15th, and work will continue outside of the channel after October 15th. Who to contact? For any emergencies, always call 911. The contractor again is Gordon and Ball Incorporated. But for any questions for this project, please contact Jose Villarreal, our neighborhood liaison, or you can use Access Valley Water. And you can also sign up to receive project updates. And here is the link and path to the project webpage. With that, I just wanted to provide again an update on the Lower Penitencia Creek Improvements Project. And Bill Sanchez, again, the project manager, will join in, and we're open for any questions. Thank you.
I believe Jose Villarreal is going to go ahead and lead any questions and answers.
Yes, we haven't received any questions yet. Not sure we were receiving any through Facebook Live, but while we receive any questions, I'm wondering if either Bill or Sunshine can tell us a little bit about the schedule. You have a schedule where you'll be starting doing a lot of work in channel, and then I assume that at some point you'll be working outside of the channel. Can you explain to us why we do that, and what does that look like between now and the completion of the project?
So we'll be getting a contract schedule pretty soon from the contractor within the next month. We'll get a preliminary schedule that gives us a broad view of what the contractor will do, but we are restricted to only work within the channel from our required permits to end construction on October 15th. Beyond that, we'll be able to still work on the levee side with communication with our permits and continue to work as much as we can. We hope to get this done, and the idea is to get this done as soon as possible and to minimize our impacts throughout this whole area.
So Bill, can you tell us why we don't do work inside the channel during this time period? What's going on in there that we can't be in there?
So our permits are very clear. There's a sensitive habitat that we have to avoid and we have to mitigate. There are wetland areas that we just can't work beyond. Our limit within the channel wetted area is from June 15th through October 15th. So that's it. And so we won't be able to work within the channel within that time period. Great.
We got a comment here from PT regarding graffiti on the overpath near the overpath along Able Avenue. We'll get that to the either City of Milpitas to get that addressed. But any questions that you might have, if you would please put them into the Q&A box so that we can capture them and then provide a response to them. So thank you very much. Let's see here. Another question. You mentioned, Sunshine, in the presentation that there's going to be plants going in. Can you tell us a little bit about that, and how does that benefit the project, the wildlife that's there, as well as the overall community?
Sure. So this project provides for long-term sustainable benefits for the community. So not only the public safety by reducing flood risk, but it also enhances wildlife habitat. So I mentioned early on for the wetland bench component that I mentioned for Reach 1 will create higher quality habitats for a variety of different species. By being able to do the mitigation necessary for the project will provide for those for that habitat and those species.
Great, thank you. We received a question from PT. The question reads, how is it determined which side gets a concrete wall and which side gets the earthen levee?
All the walls within California Circle and Millmont are steel piles. That's already determined. Most of the walls, 80% of the walls, are going to be steel piles. There are concrete walls essentially at California Circle bridges, so that it's already been through the design process. We've already determined the type of wall and the location.
Great.
I just wanted to add that so in connection with the Berryessa project that was completed, we're connecting that project to Lower Penitencia and then raising the levee there to match the Berryessa project that was completed.
Great, thank you. Got a comment again from PT. I'll go ahead and read the comment. Question says, there's a dire need for more bike pedestrian paths along the levees. What is being done or needed for this to happen?
So right now there are two existing trail areas within the levee. Those are going to be closed, and then once the levee and the walls get constructed, they'll be built up and repaved. So that there's that's going to continue, and within those areas there's going to be additional landscaping.
Great, thank you. And again, that's all anticipation of being open at the completion of the project.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
It's anticipated that that'll happen. The use of them will be at the completion of the project.
That's right. That's right. These are short trail areas. So yes.
How about during the construction of the project? Are we expecting any trail closures? Any impacts related to that?
Yeah, yes, we will. The trails along the levee will be closed during construction.
Okay. All right. And I'm sure that we'll coordinate any closures and any information with the city of Milpitas to make sure that the residents are aware of that. So
yeah, and that's one important point. There's just going to be continuous communication with the residents, with the city of Milpitas, and so yes, that's going to be well posted.
Great, thank you, Bill. We have a follow-up question from PT. The question reads, is there a plan for walking path, bike path toward Coyote Creek via around Dixon Landing Road? Overpass is too dangerous.
That I believe is outside of our project limits. I'm not familiar with what any proposed plans are or with the city, but we will, as Bill mentioned, that there'll be trail closures during our construction period. We'll provide notification to the city as well as the residents, either posting it as well on our either mailers or next door post. But we won't be changing. We'll provide the same connection back to the trail as it is now. So and I apologize, I'm not familiar with the location that's being asked of in the question.
And also wanted to mention to PT that if you go to the project page, there is a sign up so that you can sign up to receive project updates that will be going out when any closures are being planned or any information related to the project goes out. So please feel free to do that as well. Not seeing any more questions coming in, but I do have another question. Maybe this is a question for Sunshine. If you can let us know what the project budget, what the project budget is, and what is the source of funding for this project?
Sure. We have this is covered with our Watershed Stewardship Fund. The project cost estimate for Bill, you can help me to confirm. The construction cost is approximately 19 million. Is that? Could you help me just to confirm that number, Bill?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So we have the funds for construction. Funds for the construction.
Great. Thank you. See, as we get more questions from the public, now we mentioned during the presentation that this was a 100-year flood protection project. Can you explain to us what that is and why we're having to do that? And does the creek now have 100-year flood protection? And there's quite a few questions there, but
The 100-year flood is essentially the 1% chance that occurrence will occur within the flood will occur within a 1% chance. It's currently the levees do hold the 100-year, but with the improvements upstream that are being built now and will be completed this year and next, we will have to build this project to maintain this 100-year flow.
I just want to add to what Bill mentioned, that the improvements that he's referring to are improvements that we've completed to Upper Berryessa Creek and Lower Berryessa Creek. And starting this summer as well, we'll be doing improvements to Lower Clara Creek. And so, and then as in phase 3, we'll also be doing improvements to Larcitos Creek, all within the city of Milpitas. So once you combine those improvements that as Bill mentioned, we'll be bringing in more stormwater into the lower Penitencia Creek. Is that correct, Bill? And that's what is necessitating us coming in and doing the improvements to lower Penitencia. Right. Great. And since I mentioned the Lower Berryessa Creek project, next week, Tuesday the 15th, we're also going to be hosting a meeting, a pre-construction meeting for that project as well. If you go again to our website under events or even under the Lower Berryessa webpage project page, you'll find the Zoom details to log in for that, and that's also at 6 o'clock. And the project team will be providing a presentation on what to expect, construction impacts, and the benefits of the project, and as well as who to contact. So, and that's a upcoming meeting for next week. So, yes. The other question you mentioned working with the city of Milpitas. Is there a contact for the city of Milpitas that we can share? Either Bill or Sunshine, or is a preference for folks to contact Valley Water?
You know, there is, and we could provide that contact information. I think it'll be easier if you contact us first, and we'll provide that information.
Yeah, and I believe the last slide in the presentation had my email and my phone number, which the slide presentation is available now on the project page, so that you can get the information there. And it will also be posting the tonight's meeting onto the project pages as well. So, okay. So we haven't received any more questions in the chat box, but another question for the project team is, you mentioned that we're going to be planting native plants and as an effort to help you know, in the wildlife and the habitat in the creek. Once they're planted, do we just plant them and leave, or what happens after that?
So after the project is done, within by next year, there's a 3-year maintenance period where we make sure that the plants are established And so that will continue on. So this project will essentially continue on for another 2 years to just make sure the planting is maintained, the wetland mitigation is set and thriving.
And I assume that's one of the reasons why we need to have access to the maintenance roads to get our trucks in there to come in and do their maintenance and doing the work that they need to do.
Right.
Great, thank you. The other question I have is you mentioned that we now have a contractor on board. Can you share with us who the contractor is and when do we expect that the contractor to maybe be out there? And I know that the dates are still being worked out, but we have a sense of when, and then again, who the contractor is for the project.
The project was awarded to Gordon Ball, and they're now getting on board. There's a few submittals that they're providing us. We hope to have them start in January. Hopefully
July.
beginning. Oh, July. Yes, sorry. In July, hopefully the beginning or mid-July. So we're still in discussions with them and get preliminary submittals.
Great, thank you. You mentioned impacts, and one of the impacts that comes up most often with projects is obviously the trucks and noise and dust. Tell us what is Valley Water's best management practices when it comes to that type of activity to help sort of minimize that as best as possible.
So the project will get a traffic control plan and approved by the city as well. There are restricted haul times that the contractor will have and minimize truck traffic at certain locations. Again, all this will be approved by the city. And so especially during weekends, I don't think there's weekend traffic allowed. But it will all depend on the final traffic control submittal that the contractor submits.
Great. And do we know what the work hours would be and the schedule of when the contractor will be working?
Yeah, it's from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Yeah, that's
great. And who sets the schedule, the work hours? Because I know it's a question that sometimes has come up in other projects.
So the work hours are already set. That's already in our specifications to the project. And again, the contractor will be submitting control plans, traffic control plans to the city that will again identify the work hours and truck traffic halt times as well. So.
Great. Let's see. The question I have, I'm not sure if you guys will be able to comment on this, but Director Santos mentioned the 15% reduction in water use, and we're in the middle of a drought, and just wondering if the team anticipates any impacts to the project or the schedule because of drought.
I don't foresee any impacts because of the drought. That's always going to be a concern, though. So that's just something we have to work around.
Great.
Just one of the things, and not more specific to drought, but with our operations and maintenance, by completing this project, we'll be able to minimize the continuous sediment and vegetation removal. So just in addition to some of the kind of the operations and maintenance activities that go on this, the project once completed, we'll be able to minimize that.
Yeah. Great. I know that sometimes you mentioned the project benefits. Can you share a little bit more about that, about the project benefits?
Sure. So just to kind of talk about the objectives again of once this project is completed, Again, to be able to convey the 1% design flow, we are, meeting again the water surface elevations both at the Coyote Creek downstream and the Berryessa Creek confluence. As I mentioned, to be able to minimize the need for seasonal removal of sediment and non-woody vegetation. And then we'll be able to also maintain the existing FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency accreditation. So the big thing again is to be able to convey to provide the increased capacity to convey that increased flow.
And the other benefit is water quality. By creating the wetland area, that in itself creates that water quality within that area and increases the habitat of species.
Great, and I assume part of that is, I'm assuming we're going to be removing invasive plants and species as well. Is that part of the project?
Well, within the area, Reach 1, where we are creating the wetland habitat areas, yes, that we would be removing invasive species. So,
Great. Sunshine, you mentioned the benefits, and obviously this being a 100-year flood protection project. I guess the other sort of big benefit to the folks that live up and down next to the creek is that by maintaining this project at that level, they have the option of whether or not they want to purchase flood insurance, which for those that live near there and are experiencing whether they have flood insurance or not can be a costly expense. And so I'm assuming this is another great benefit to the community there, to the residents that live near Lower Penitencia Creek.
Yes, thanks Jose for adding that. Yes, that's correct.
Great. Let's do that. Have we gotten any questions via Facebook Live? Do we know we've received any?
No questions as on Facebook Live right now, Jose.
Great. One other question. Do we have a sense of how many properties will benefit from this project, meaning that they will continue to be outside of the floodplain?
I don't have that number. I don't have that number, but there's quite a large amount of parcels from California Circle to Belmont Drive that will benefit from this improvement. So
that's great, because I see from the map on one side we have a lot of the residential neighborhoods, and of course on the other side we have a lot of the industrial business property. So we, both sides are getting a great benefit from this project. And of course, we have Highway 880 running close by as well. So another benefit there. So yes. So I think before we bring Director Santos back into to close out the meeting, Bill or Sunshine, is there anything else you want to add about the project that folks should be aware of? Any of the benefits, any of the impacts, anything related to the schedule, just something we might have missed, or something that it's important for folks to know about?
Well, I just want to mention that again, continued communication with the community is really important to us. So we'll be providing the city quarterly updates on the project. The city will be involved in all, not only with their areas of improvements, but also they will also be closely. We will also communicate closely our schedule with the city. But again, I think it's really important that we provide enough information to the public to make sure they understand the project and they understand the schedule. So we'll provide that information. And if there's any questions, please use the link, call Jose. You could get in touch with me. So there's our construction manager is available. So there's quite a few people available to answer your questions.
Great. It sounds like communication is key here. Us to the community, and then community back to us if there's something that they're not happy about or have questions about. Sunshine, any last comments before we turn it back over to Rochelle?
No, I just echo what Bill had mentioned. The contact information, as you mentioned, the webpage is up and the slides are there. So please, if you have further questions that you weren't able to ask at this time, please make sure to do so. They're contacting Jose, Access Valley Water, and we'll be able to provide you those responses. Again, the benefits for the project, the public safety as well as the wildlife, enhancing the wildlife habitat. We're just looking forward to getting construction started and then to see these benefits come to fruition. So thank you all for attending today.
Great, thank you guys, and we'll turn it back over to Rochelle.
Yeah, I too want to thank you all for attending this evening. It is important to keep communication open. Please share any information with your neighbors. We are up at valleywater.org, and all you have to do is type in Lower Penitencia Creek, and you should bring you to the project page and the contacts. No question is too small, and we're here to serve you, and so please don't hesitate just to ask and reach out to us if you have any concerns or any questions. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to our director, Richard Santos, to go ahead and close us out. Thank you.
Thank you, Rochelle. I want to thank Rochelle, of course, Sunshine, Bill Sanchez, and Valley Water staff for the presentation and answering questions. I want to thank the neighbors who joined us tonight. It's important for us to keep an open line of communication with you. Folks, I can tell you this, I was born and raised in Alviso, and I remember that area in 1983 when we had 8 foot of water in Alviso, and that area that we're protecting now was all flooded. So it couldn't be developed today without this protection. So I really am excited. This is going to be a good thing for everybody and protect us, especially from floods. A recording of this meeting will be available in the coming days on your YouTube channel. Please share it with any of your neighbors who were unavailable to join us tonight. The presentation is available on the project's webpage along with other details. Thank you to everyone for asking questions and sharing your thoughts for the project. If you have any further questions about the project in the coming days, please contact our neighborhood liaison, Jose Villarreal, who will be with me over there in Giorgio's. No, he's available. So I'm just kidding you. He's available all the time, and visit the www.valleywater.org to use our Access Valley Water system. With that, I thank our staff, everybody who's watching, and you know what? Stay safe and good night and have a great time. Good night.